In this video, I want to make a quick review of some popular concepts that show up in our business math course. So I started with this number, 47,512.374. And I wrote the names for each of these digits. So these two here, it's called the ones. This one from here, or the position where one is, it's called the tens. The position where 5 is called the hundreds, right? Because this is 512, right? The position where 7 is thousands. The position where 4 is 10,000, because in these positions you can have different digits. Also, after the decimal point, we have the position of these 3, so where we put the first digit after the decimal point, is called the 10th. Then the 7 here, the second position after the decimal point, it's called hundreds. And the third position is called thousands. And of course, we can have more, like 10,000s, then 100,000, and sorry, not 100, 100,000, and so on. But let's say we have this number. And what can we do with this number? Well, we can round it. And we can have some situations. Well, let's say we want to round it to the nearest tens. So what we do, we look at the digit for the tens, which is this one. And then we look at the digit to the right to it. So we look at the 2. If the 2 is less than 5, then this one, which is the tens, because this is our main character, remains unchanged. So in our case, because it is less than 5, it remains unchanged. So what that means is we copy 4751, right? The 1 remains unchanged, and of course everything that is to the left to it, and everything else becomes 0. And I can put zeros here, or the zeros after decimal point really don't matter. So rounding 47,512.374 to the nearest tens is 47,510. Because if you think about this 12, it's closer to 10 than to 20. Now, let's try one more. Let's say we want to round it to the nearest hundreds. Hundreds, right? This position. So we want the second decimal after decimal point. So I'm going to write again the number because I wrote all kinds there. So nothing changes. We write the original number. I said I wanted to the nearest hundred. So I want to find what digit is that one? It's 7. So what it means, we look at the next digit after 7, right? That is 4. And again, because it is less than 5, this 7, our main character, remains unchanged. So our number now rounded to the nearest hundred is 47,512.37. No more 4. 4 is gone because I want to the nearest hundred, so I want only 2 decimals after the decimal point. And let's try one more. Let's say round it to the nearest tenths, right? So again, I'm going to write the number 47512.374, and the nearest tenth is the 10th position is this one, 3. So the question is, would the number stay 3 or it will change? So we look at the number to the right. That's 7, and because it's more than 5, this digit here we're going to add 1 to it. So our number is going to be 47,512.4. And then the decimals after that are gone. So to the nearest tenth, then our number ends at the 10th position. So 47,512.4. And I want to add one thing. When in our course, most of the time we are going to use this rounding, and I want you to pause this and think, Why do you think we are going to try and round our numbers to 2 decimals after the decimal point? Well, most of the time we are going to deal with money. So most of the time when we deal with money, we have the dollars amount and then the cents amount. So we would want 2 decimals after decimal point, because if this were money, we would have $47,512.37. So that's why we would, most popular would be rounded to the nearest hundreds. And sometimes the problems will sound round to the nearest hundreds, and sometimes it will sound round to 2 decimals after the decimal point, or to the nearest cent. When they say any of that, we know we want to round to the to 2 decimals. Another topic that is going to show up a lot in our course are dealing with fractions, decimals, and percents. So most of the time we will have to convert from one to another. So let's start with an example. Let's say we have a fraction, 4/10. And I want to convert this fraction, 4/10, into a decimal. What will I do? Well, I will divide, because this line means division. So if you divide 4/10, you can use your calculator. You are allowed with calculators in this course. You will see that you get 0.4. So now we change it from a fraction to a decimal by division, right? So anytime you have a fraction and you want to change it into a decimal, you just divide the numerator, the 4, you divide it by the denominator by 10. So we change it into a decimal, but sometimes we want to change it into percent. So now that we have the decimal, the way to change it from this decimal into percent is we multiply by 100%. This 100% means actually 1. So I'm not changing my number, 0.4, it's still gonna have the same amount, quantity. But when we multiply 0.4 times 100, right, we'll do this multiplication, we'll multiply these two numbers. When we multiply by 100, we move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so this is gonna become 40, and I'm gonna copy the sign percent. So how do we change from decimals to percent? We just multiply our decimal by 100%. So we multiply by 100 and then we just copy the sign for percent. Let's do one more example. I chose 2 and 3/5. This is a mixed number. So I'm going to convert this mixed number into an improper fraction by multiplying these two. So 5 times 2 plus 3. So it's going to be 5 times 2, 10, plus 3 is 13 over 5. So now my fraction is improper, but I do have a fraction. So how did we change from fractions to decimals? We wrote here, we divide. So use your calculator, divide 13 by 5, and you are going to get 2.6. So what we did, we changed it from fraction to decimal by using division. So if you had to just change a fraction into a decimal, you would stop here. But if you had to also find the percent, then let's change from decimal to percent by multiplying with 100 and copy the symbol for percent. So I'm going to multiply by 100 and copy the symbol. So multiply by 100 means move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So it's going to be 260, right? Because this becomes a 0 here. And then we copy the symbol percent. And we changed all of them from fractions. We went through the steps, through the motions, we did the decimals, and then we did percents. But what if the problem is given in the percent format and we want to find out what's the fraction, what's the decimal? So let's say we have this example where we have 75%. So we read it 75%. Now, percent, if we split this in 2 words, means divide by 100. So basically, this symbol can be changed into 75 divided by 100. So I'm going to say 75 divided by 100, 0.75. So we change this into from percent into a decimal. But I could have, let me make one intermediate step. 75 divided by 100 can be written 75 over 100. They are equivalent expressions. So 75 over 100. So what just happened? We changed it from percent into fraction, and then we can also make the division and we get 0.75 and we change it into decimal. So from percent to fraction, just put whatever number you have over 100. Now you are going to have a lot of 3% or 15% or 7.5% in our problems because usually these are numbers for interest, or 15% maybe sales, right? 15% off. So how do I put this number in a calculator, let's say? How do I change it into a decimal? Well, 3%, 3 over 100, or 0.03. 15%, 15 over 100, or 0.15. 7.5 over 100, or 0.075. I hope this helps.